Hey everyone, so if you've seen my previous video, you probably saw the midnight building of Space Walls and stuff. Just following on from that, I thought I'd also take this opportunity to go through kind of like a basics of just getting your stuff to a ready to play standard for painting, and just kind of how quickly and simply you can do it while still getting a reasonable overall appearance. So, I am by no means an expert, but I generally get my armies to what I think is a quite nice tabletop standard. And I think for the two different stages, aside from the humidity here, giving that slightly powdery effect, unfortunately, which you can just about see on this camera, but at a distance, you honestly hardly see it at all. Anyway, on to the actual point. So for the Bloodclaws, to get to this level of painting, which has your 3 color minimum and then a bit more in total. So you would, if you go to a tournament with something like this, you would score your full tournament points. A little bit of color there. But yeah, this was 5 colors plus a base paint, which you don't technically need, but I did anyway on the base. You can see that sterling mud for the texture effect. But yeah, all of this was done using the Retributor armor for the gold. That's mostly on the shoulder pads and any kind of like Aquila details. Obviously, being Space Wolves, we used the Space Wolves Grey, which needs, once again, a good shake, as it did in the beginning. But yeah, basically that was, that's 1 coat on that one, possibly 2, I do forget, but at most it was 2 coats of Space Wolves Grey on just the whole model for the base level. Then for this one specifically, on the plasma sort of conduits and the power claws, I used the Frostheart contrast. And then just to get started on the yellow, it's not super strong, and I would maybe do something a little bit different in the future, but for this one I again used the contrast of Yandan yellow. And then finally for the brown on like the pelt, I used the Gorgrunta fur. Then, if you want to try and, again, if you're like new to painting, if you want to sort of kick things up a little bit, get a bit more detail on there, you'd be looking at this guy. So this is what I would generally go with as being sort of like a higher tabletop ready standard. Like obviously it's not going to go and win any painting competitions, but once you have like, I mean, for example, the Combat Patrol, when they all look like this, it honestly looks pretty good on the table. It's quite satisfying to see on the table. And it's not a huge difference in time and materials used. So for this one, we added another 6 paints to go from that to that. So to get from there, what I did first was add some Celestra Grey into the highlights, so you can hopefully see. Just zoom in there. Oh, can we focus? Yeah, there we go. So on some of where the light would hit, went a little bit thick with the grey on that. And then over the top of that, we just did another layer of Space Wolves Grey, which kind of adds extra steps of highlighting and also thickens out, or strengthens, I should say, the original sort of base coat, makes it a bit smoother and a bit of a nicer finish. Then for the yellow, again, just made that a bit of a stronger, and again to sort of highlight a bit, we get with some flash gits. And sorry, I actually skipped a bit of a step. You can just, with your undercoat, with the spray with the black, or for the weapons, you can go with contrast again, the Black Legion. Then, it's not on this one, but for the Terminators, I used Blood Angels Red on the grips on the power axes, and also on the cloak for the character. And then finally, just for again picking out some of the detail in the recesses of the armor, yeah, we used the Nuln Oil, again just to add a bit more depth. So, and then, sorry, I did actually, again on the different models, but just to sort of include everything for the 6 extra paints I used, Gilliman Flesh for things like the Wolfen, and you can also use it as an additional sort of highlighter on the wolf pelts, any sort of fur or leather. That works quite nicely with these. So in total that is 11 paints, and this was all done with a single standard brush, so you're not really breaking the bank there. And I mean, honestly, I'm pretty happy with the result. I think you would be too, and it really is not an insurmountable level. You know, if I can do it, probably most people can do it, to be honest. So there you go. Hopefully that's helpful if you're kind of thinking about getting into painting but finding it a little bit scary about where to start. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to message, comment, and I'm happy to answer where I can. All right, thanks for watching.